We bid you welcome who come with weary spirits seeking rest, who come with troubles that are too much with you. We bid you welcome who come with anticipation in your step, who come proud and joyous. We bid you welcome who enter this space as a homecoming, this virtual space, and who have found here support for your spirit, and who have found in these people friends. We bid you welcome who come as seekers of a new way, who come to explore, to learn, and to play. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, we bid you welcome. Hear these words for our chalice lighting. The greatest calamity that can befall a nation is the loss of, fill out that blank in your mind. Those are the words of Ralph Waldo Emerson, a great Unitarian minister, transcendentalist from our heritage. The greatest calamity that can befall a nation is the loss of worship, says Emerson. Loss of worship. And here, this second quote for our chalice lighting from Reverend Kendall Gibbons, who was one of my professors at our Unitarian Seminary, Meadville Lombard. She currently serves the congregation in Kansas City, Missouri. She taught me and all of us that worship is divine play. What greater calamity can befall a nation than the loss of worship and the loss of play? Huh? By the end of the hour, that will make total sense to your heart, body, and mind. So let me light the chalice. Welcome to the Springfield Unitarian Universalist Meeting House in Vermont. I am totally delighted to introduce our guest in the pulpit today, Caro Barshow. Caro is a seminarian at Boston University and studying to become a minister of our Unitarian Universalist denomination. And Caro and I met this summer. We were in a course together, and I was presenting the idea of creating a spiritual makerspace, an open environment where emerging spiritual leaders can experiment and lead us into a new future to bring back the power of worship. And Caro was really taken by the idea and approached me during the class time and said, "Hey, I'm looking for an internship." And I said, "You're on. Great." And we've been working together this summer. She served as the summer minister for the month of August at a church up in Portland, Maine, and I supervised her from afar in doing that. And now she's with us from September through mid-December, serving as our intern, working with us 4 hours a week, leading this worship and working to help create this new, playful, experimental idea of a spiritual makerspace. Caro brings to us a tremendous skills and ability. She came to Unitarian Universalism in 2006. And of course, where did she find a home? Small group ministry, covenant groups, what we call Friends on the Path. And she has been a member of such a group for about a dozen years. She is also an educator. She has tremendous background in working with children, and you'll see it weaving through the service today. And she has a belief that awakened hearts draw forth healing and transformation in the world. And part of her mission is to help us all collectively wake up. So we are delighted, Caro, to have you as our intern this fall. This is a really significant event in the history of the church. We're becoming a learning congregation. We are a wonderful, small and mighty congregation, and to open our doors to support the emerging leaders, the emerging spiritual leaders in the world today, it's an honor to do this work together, and wonderful, truly wonderful to have you with us today, Caro. And it is also Yom Kippur. This is part of that sacred celebration in the Jewish tradition. And we will be exploring that next week. Reverend Nancy Crumbine, loves that tradition. And she will be our guest in the pulpit next week, helping us understand. It's in the Jewish tradition, a celebration of forgiveness. So we can look forward to that. Although we can't celebrate it right on the date today, we're in the spirit. As the leaves fall, we all let go, including letting go in forgiveness. So let us continue with our next hymn. Glad you're all with us today.
I seek the spirit of the child who meets life naturally, the child who sings the word of life and greets the morning sun with glee. Children are real beyond the art. May I see joy's a gift to our heart. I seek the freedom of a child who loves instinctively, who lights our day with just a smile and shines that light on all we see. Children are real beyond the fields. May I see hope's a gift to our tears. I seek the wonder of a child who sees delightfully. Now clouds in cloud, now golden sun, imagination's true I see. Fate's a gift to our eyes.
Oh, good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to be with you this morning, and thank you, Julian, for the music, and Melon for your kind words. I feel the kindness and the mightiness of this congregation radiating towards me across the Zoom screen. And so I would like you to come with me on this quest to understand playing, the power of playing today. And I was struck by the lyrics of the hymn that we just sang, which is in our hymnal, the Singing the Living Tradition. And Carl Seberg writes these words, quote, "Children are real beyond all art, all fear, all lies. The spirit, freedom, and wonder of the child who meets life naturally, loves instinctively, sees delightfully." We need that realness now. Beyond all lies and fears is the spirit of the child. We can look to that spirit for hope. And we can rest in that spirit, knowing that that spirit, no matter what our childhood was like, is within us. Yet, let us never romanticize childhood. All kinds of hurts can happen and will happen in the life of a child, from a skinned knee to the bruises of bullying, to going to bed hungry or being displaced by natural disaster. And take a deep breath in and out with me for those pains of the child that are so real. Maybe even shake some of that off, because we all have some of those pains inside of us, right? Yet, we do not romanticize, but children are often praised for their resilience in the face of these hurts. Part of that resilience is that children, like all mammals, are wired for a drive to play. Play is how children learn. It's the process of experimenting, making mistakes, trying again. It's how children learn to walk, to throw a ball, to sing, to be leaders and followers. They also play to learn how to make meaning of their lives and integrate the hard things. Resilience. Making meaning and integrating the hard things. Isn't that what we need to face our times today? In today's service, I will invite you to play together. I hope that in playing, it will gift you with some resiliency for the times that we are in, some practical resiliency, inviting you to try some new tools that you might use in relating to loved ones and to yourself, to the people that you are sharing space with daily, and or the people you are longing to see again in person. I hope it offers some spiritual resiliency, inviting you into new ways of understanding play and its relationship to building the beloved community. On that last point, let's begin with a short video. I'd like you to witness some toddlers at play. I invite you to look for the good and find the courage, strength, daring, and experimentation that these children are carrying out instinctively and naturally, and how they're doing it together. The video is filmed in a classroom, so you're going to hear some dialogue off screen of teachers talking with children who are not in the clip. Can I get a thumbs up from Julian if she can see that? Yeah.
This side.
You pick it up. You pick it up with your hands. I know you can do it. I know you can do it. Pick up the dinosaur. There you go. Again. Oh, you must be so proud of yourself. You can put that back. That's a bird. What kind of dinosaur? Is it a brontosaurus? Maybe, or it's a dinosaur. We could find out. There's so much more, but we'll end it there. I mean, did you see the little boy in the blue shirt considering first if his hands would propel him up the stairs? And how many times they both fell and had to change plans. The child in the black shirt couldn't make it up the slide on knees. And then how about the way they paid attention to each other and played, sliding down in tandem with a crash landing that made no one cry. No one felt embarrassed that it wasn't good enough. In fact, it made them laugh and giggle and try again. So let's try some play together. A tradition in many UU congregations is a time to share joys and concerns aloud. Let's play with that form a little bit. I'd like to introduce you to a form called I Could Talk About. I Could Talk About is a way to share news with just a little bit of information. It can still have a big impact. So I Could Talk About is offering a headline of something. And I'll offer you the prompt. What do you hold precious right now? What are you holding precious as a joy or concern? And I'm going to invite Melon to demonstrate I Could Talk About with me. And after we demonstrate it, I'm going to ask Deb to put folks into breakout rooms and invite you to try this if you'd like with someone else from the congregation. And you don't have to worry if there's like more than 2 of you on the screen and you're in a breakout room, like don't worry, we'll just go with it and it's going to be fun. All right, you gotta believe a little bit with me here. All right, so.
And I didn't know we were going to do this, so I'm really playing. Caro didn't tell me, so this is total experimentation. Cool, I'm ready.
Great. So Deb, will you ask me what do I hold precious right now?
Caro, tell me please, what do you hold precious right now?
Okay, and here I go. I'm going to just offer you the headline. I could talk about how much I love my cats, Rosa and Louis. All right, and now could you please give me a headline using I Could Talk About?
I could talk about, Caro, the 250th anniversary of Universalism, which is this week, and the message that God is love, and how much Universalism has lifted my heart and inspired me in my life and in my ministry.
I could talk about the joys of sitting outside on a warm morning and watching the leaves just starting to change color on the edges.
Wow.
Okay, and we could go back and forth, but we're going to let folks have a chance to go back and forth in breakout rooms. So the container is I Could Talk About, and then you'll share a joy or concern about something precious to you, back and forth with your partner. All right, so Deb is going to send you into rooms in just a moment, and I want you to know that you'll have about, you'll decide who goes first, and then you'll get started, and we'll let you know in about 4 minutes that you'll come back. And I'd like to invite you, if you haven't already gone to your room, to notice with your partner what that was like, if you have any extra time. Yeah, welcome back, everyone who's just arriving. You're invited to share in the chat something that you held, that you shared with your partner that was precious to you. And in just a moment, when we have all of us back, we'll do an activity that will gather us in recognition of those joys and concerns and sorrows that might be precious in our hearts this morning. All right. So let's move into that time. Let's move into that time of gathering together. It's a little bit unusual to be in the whole group and then go to the small group and then come back again. So let's unite ourselves using the voice. And again, we're going to experiment a little. I'm going to ask you to play, and it might be a little bit uncomfortable or new, but here we go. So what I'd like to invite you to do in just a moment is make a sound on behalf of those joys and concerns that are precious to us. It might be an om. It might be a blah, shake out your voice. It might be a lament, like, oh, this world that we're in, right? And it's to your level of comfort how you want to make a sound. But I'd like to ask you now to unmute yourself, and we'll just take a deep breath together, and we'll do that 2 times, and we'll let out a sound on behalf of what was shared with your partner, bringing us together in the whole group. Here we go. Unmute yourself and breath in. And let it out with a sound. And more of those. Breath in.
Yeah.
Yummy.
One last time, 3rd time. Beautiful, beautiful. And you can stay unmuted because Julaine is going to introduce us to a call and response song. And we'd invite you to sing along. We might hear each other's voices loud and strong. It might be a little bit chaotic, and that's part of the fun. All right, and I would like to share some words and movement with you. So I'll invite you to turn on your mute and settle in for a big body story about play and justice. I am not going to let anything move me from this stance of justice. I am going to be at home in myself. Along with you, I am going to affirm a free and responsible search for truth and meaning is not just a head game. It is a heart game, a body game, a soul and spirit game. In fact, I don't really like to play games. So maybe this is more just a way of living in a body, acknowledging that I have a body that wants to shake itself up and out of some of that learning that I learned that takes me away from the spirit of a child. I don't know about you, but when I call someone on the phone today or get onto a Zoom call, those conversations can be kind of boring because it usually will start with, well, this thing's going on in my life and this thing's going on in my life. And then this is how the pandemic is affecting me. This is how the pandemic is affecting me. And this is how we're going to worry together about that. And I want to brush that off because as important as it is to acknowledge my reality, that way of communicating about what is happening doesn't always serve me. I want to think of ways to be more creative. And I am so inspired by the words of Albert Einstein, who says, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." Wow. There's so much coming at me these days. I don't know about you, but I'm hearing the news. I'm hearing those conversations. And that hope of the child, that spirit of the child is hard to find. So when I could talk about, I'm letting it go. Just that headline. There doesn't always need to be a whole lot more story. I'm worried. I'm worried about the state of the world. I'm scared for and I'm sad for folks that are facing climate disaster. Right? I'm concerned about the health of a loved one. Let it go. Just let it be, right? Is there a way that we can hold that for each other without having to add a lot more story? Because when we weave that story, sometimes we kind of harden that reality. And that's not the reality that I want to harden. I want to open myself up. I want to open up my relationships to be ones that are filled with the imagination of what is possible, of where I want to go, of that search for truth and meaning, of those principles that we may hold dear as Unitarian Universalists, of justice, equity, and compassion in our relationships, seeking a just world, building beloved community. So I don't want to harden around my worries and fears, right? And that's where the tools that I'm talking about today of play, of ways we can play in our adult lives, in our adult bodies, are so valuable. I want to teach you one from interplay, which is a form of playing and relating developed by Cynthia Winton Henry and Phil Porter back around 1990. And this tool, and they created I Could Talk About. They also created the tool called Easy Focus. So when that hardening starts to come into my system, I can use Easy Focus to release. Looks like this. Oh, so many worries. Oh, they're just all buzzing up here, and it just would be such a relief if I could just go, oh, away, or maybe silently. Right? There's a lightening. There's a releasing. And Cynthia and Phil call that X formation. A lot of information is coming at us. Can we X-form it? Can we release what we no longer need to hold on to so that there's room in our body, in our spirit, in our minds, in our conversations to imagine what is next? What gives us hope? What unites us and brings us together? And as I'm speaking of the beloved community, perhaps you're understanding how this has a relationship to justice. This ability to imagine has a relationship to justice. And I'm really struck by the words of Adrienne Marie Brown, who's an author, an activist, a social justice facilitator, healer, and doula living in Detroit. She's an African American woman, and these are her words. Quote, "We are in an imagination battle. Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown and Renisha McBride and so many others are dead because, in some white imagination, they were dangerous. And that imagination is so respected that those who kill based on an imagined, racialized fear of Black people are rarely held accountable." Adrienne Marie Brown continues. She says, "Imagination has people thinking they can go from being poor to a millionaire as part of a shared American dream. Imagination turns brown bombers into terrorists and white bombers into mentally ill victims. Imagination gives us borders, gives us superiority, gives us race as an indicator of capability. I often feel I am trapped inside someone else's imagination, and I must engage my own imagination in order to break free. End quote. So, really, the ability to play, whether you enjoy playing with your body or your mind or your words, is so essential to undoing these imaginings that create the structures that are around us, that are within us, right? That are preventing justice. And this quote feels even more dear in relationship to understanding what I know to be the injustice of the killing of Breonna Taylor and the inability of the justice systems we have imagined for ourselves to hold accountable police officers who kill. Imagination is serious business, but it's also the stuff of childhood. What a world we are in. and what a puzzle it can be. But to me, the way through is what I have learned from watching those toddlers and from what Adrienne Marie Brown talks about when she talks about the ethic of pleasure activism. She says that in moderation, never abandoning our values, pleasure, leaning in, feeling the yes, is a way to move towards a justice and liberation that feels good. Those toddlers in that video, they feel good. They're in touch with the yes inside of them. They are operating from body wisdom. They become what they practice. What they pay attention to is where the meaning gets made. What do we want to make meaning of? How do we want to make meaning of the world? Is there a way to bring play into how you make meaning this week? In a conversation, in how you relate to the news? Just like that little child trying to go up the stairs on hands instead of feet. Can we try something and accept that we might fail and be able to try again? Thank you for hearing those words. I'd like to invite you now to take a few breaths together. And as you do so, maybe check in and feel your feet or your bottom on the chair, on the floor. And we'll get ourselves rooted because I'd like to invite us into movement together. I'd like to offer you another interplay form. And it goes like this. So I'll show you some things and I'd like you to follow along. Take one hand in the air. So you can do this on screen, or if you're more comfortable, you could turn your video off. So now for 30 seconds, do something smooth, do some smooth movements with your hand. Now do smooth and fast. Now do some jerky movements. How about jerky and slower? You guys are great. Oh, look at this play. All right, now make a shape with your hand and hold it. Try another shape. Make 3 shapes so fast. Now use your hand and put it in contact with your body somewhere. Find another place to make contact. And another, and another. Now take up as much space with one hand as you can. Figure out how far it can go. Great. So guess what, everybody? You just learned how to do a hand dance. And you're great at it. So I'm going to invite Julaine to perform a piece of music. And I'd like you to play around with those movements. Remember what they are. It's smooth, jerky, shape, contact, getting really big. You can follow along with someone else, or you can simply witness. And when the music stops, I invite you to find a gesture of appreciation. All right, here we go. Beautiful. All right, so I'd like to invite you to our closing hymn. And this is a time when, if you receive the invitation over email to have a musical instrument ready, it's your big moment. So you might want to locate that. And I'll invite you to rise and body your spirit to sing Let It Be a Dance. And you can dance with a hand, you can dance with a body, you can smile at those on screen. You're always at choice, always participating to your level of comfort.
Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you. Through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Let a dancing song be heard. Play the music, say the words, and fill the sky with sailing birds. Let it be a dance, let it be a dance, let it be a dance. Learn to follow, learn to lead. Feel the rhythm, feel the need. To reap the harvest, plant the seed. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance we do. May I have this dance with you. Through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. That was great dancing. I was watching.
Yes, beautiful, wonderful.
Thank you so much, Kara. The future of liberal religion is in great hands, with emerging leaders like you, Carol, who are coming forth to lead us in play, in new ways of being and thinking in the world. So thank you so much for being with us, leading us in worship this morning, and for being our intern. We are truly, truly blessed to have you with us. Wonderful. So to extinguish our chalice, in those words of Ralph Waldo Emerson, the greatest calamity that can befall a nation is the loss of worship. If that is so, then the greatest blessing that can uplift a nation is the restoration of worship, the restoration of divine play. If you have found friendship here, treasure it. If you have found challenge here, go and sit quietly, playfully, with whatever is stirring and rising in your heart. And if you have found hope here, bring it out in a loving, playful way into this broken and beautiful world that needs you connected with your divine child, with your playful spirit. May it be so, blessed be.